In the US market, Motorola is changing their approach to the Razr smartphones for 2025. They're coming in with not just one, not two, but three different Razr smartphones. There's the base, the plus, and brand new Ultra category that we haven't had before. And trust me when I say they've really pulled out all the stops when it comes to the Ultra. There's a lot of cool things going on with that smartphone. Even a dedicated AI function key that's positioned on the left side. So even hardware-wise, it looks very different. This is TK, and this is my review of the standard Razr and the Razr Ultra for 2025. Let's check them out and see what makes them so special. Like and subscribe, and make sure you hit that bell icon so they're always notified whenever we have new videos for you on the channel. Right off, as we have the boxes for the Razr Ultra and the brand new Razr. Now there is a Razr Plus, which will share back pretty much the same physics of this box since they no longer include chargers in the box. And what we get in the box was pretty much straightforward. We get basically a SIM removal tool, a charging cable, and if I'm not mistaken, what is that one last thing they usually include? The smartphones, of course. We have the Ultra on the right. This is in basically their new Alcantara leather, also in Pantone color. And on the left side, we have the standard Razr 2025. I will have to say, though, the material in the back with the vegan leather or the fake leather that they like to use here, feels absolutely fantastic. Both of them are carrying very much iconic designs, a larger 4-inch display to a 3.6-inch display. Now, the nice thing about both of them is that you can see definitely the design aesthetics are very similar. We have a larger 4-inch display here on the Ultra as opposed to the 3.6-inch display on the left. Now, both are featuring a fingerprint sensor with a power button combination on the right side of the device, next to basically where you see here the volume rocker. Where the standard one has a microphone positioned next to it, the Ultra does not. But on the left side of the actual unit, when you look at it, the Ultra does actually carry an additional button. That is a dedicated AI button. We do have additional microphones here, obviously, for both the Razr and the Razr Ultra. When we look at the bottom and the top at the same time of the unit, since we're able to close this device, we'll notice that the positions of the microphones here for audio capture, as well as the speakers, positioned slightly on the opposite side. And of course, we have the USB-C connector, and we also have here the SIM tray, which allows us to obviously use physical SIMs. It does support eSIMs, where here on the standard Razr, it is actually positioned on the side. So you can actually be able to see it. It's not sitting on the bottom. There's also a bigger difference as well when we start looking at battery capacity and functionality, and we'll get into that in a second. As I mentioned to you guys, both are featuring Pantone colors, and this one uses Alcantara leather. There's also a wood option, as well as there's multiple other colors available on the standard Razr as well. Now, the nice thing is that both of them feature wireless charging. Now, the battery capacity on the standard and the Ultra are actually quite closer than what the Plus is. The standard one is at 4,500 milliampere, and on the Ultra, we are looking at a 4,700 milliampere. Now, we are getting fast wire charging on these. Unfortunately, no chargers are included in the box, so you do need to pick up that one separately. What I will say, though, is on the external display here, we talked about that just a second ago, we're looking at a 4-inch display as opposed to a 3.6-inch display. Now, when we open them up, we're starting to also see a little bit of a big difference as well. The Razr Ultra is actually clocking in at 7 inches, and that's due to the bezels that they've been able to close here. So we're looking here at a 6.9-inch display. Let's go ahead and turn it on. Let's go ahead and unlock it. Maybe that's a better situation. We'll put that in here, and we'll unlock our phone. So the Razr Ultra is a 7-inch display, internal display, as opposed to what we have here, 6.9-inch display. Now, that's also married on the Plus edition. Now, you'll notice here I'm using Retro Razr. This is something that they included here a few years ago, and this allows me to basically use and basically kind of make the device look as if it's running the old UI or the old interface that we used to get with the original Razrs. Both of them are featuring Motorola's latest software on top of Android 15. And as you can see here, Motorola Razr Ultra 2025 and Motorola Razr 2025. The versions that I have here are going to be slightly different. There's different storage and RAM configuration. This one has 1 terabyte with 16 gigabytes of RAM. This one has 256 gigs with 8 gigabytes of RAM with an additional 4 gigabytes boost, which essentially is a page file system from the internal storage. So about basically 12 gigabytes of RAM experience. Now, when it comes down to the camera experience here, this is where it becomes basically clear. There's triple 50s here. The front facing is a 50, the dual 50 main and ultra wide on the back. And on the Ultra and the standard, both are featuring the same experience where they go with a main sensor and an ultra wide on the back, where the Plus still features a telephoto lens from last year. This year they've changed over to go for an ultra wide, so a 32, a 50 main, and a 13 megapixel for the ultra wide. The displays are slightly different, of course, as the higher resolution, larger display. Internally is 2640 by 1080, and here we're going for 2992 by 1224, slightly higher resolution. Are running here at 1066 by 1056 as opposed to the 1272 by 1080. Both feature SIM connection as well as eSIM connection, and I've been using it here on the Razr Ultra. They function very nicely. There's a lot of functional option as well as Moto AI built into the system. Now, the standard does not have a dedicated button. You do have an ability of running, like here, a floating button. But if I want to interact with the Motorola UI, I just basically press and hold the button, launches it, and it kind of basically jumps into what I want to say, or I want to basically interact with. I can either initiate the microphone to talk to it. I can say pay attention for it to take some dictation notes. So I'll go ahead and say pay attention. It'll start recording a conversation. And from this point, what essentially everything I say will basically be recorded. Once that recording is done, it's going to transcribe it and put it for me, and it'll put it in a notes application that is built into the device. The nice thing about it is that, as you can see here, it's doing it live. It's capturing the content, writing it, and obviously it requires internet connectivity for it to work. Once it's done, you can stop the recording. It's going to say processing, and it'll basically complete the conversation, or basically the recording, and start categorizing the speakers. It gives you all the information that you normally want. Since there's only one of me, it didn't really go far. There's Remember This and Explore with Perplexity as well. Perplexity is also positioned here on the standard Razr. And this is one of the new approaches that they've come with when it comes to AI this year. They're really going with almost everything. They're going with Gemini. That's the base version of the AI. Boom. Positioned in here. We have Circle to Search, which is typical. Again, something we've seen before and we always know and I love. I use this actually quite a bit, specifically with music, when I'm listening to music on either Instagram or on TikTok. And of course, we have the ability of launching the Moto AI functionality. You do need to log into this, and it does leverage other AI models. Now, you may have noticed already that I am running two different launchers. Here, I'm running Nova Prime. On the left, I'm running the standard UI model. The settings section here is pretty straightforward. You keep it the normal way we have it. And what we have essentially is the ability of going in. Your toggles are in one spot. You're able to slide through between them. And you can customize them. And of course, jumping into the settings section. There is a dedicated specific section for the external display where you can customize not only the function that you have, but also some interactions that you're able to customize here with, let's say, customizing the music player, tent mode, as well as sleep display. And what I like about them is you can customize the experience by going in there, sharing what you want to be able to put in there. And at this point, let's say you want to be able to turn it off here. We'll close it. And the nice function about it is that you can actually, once you have it, it's sitting in the lock screen. You'll notice it saw my hand and it actually went into lock screen. But let's go ahead and bring that in. I'll let it turn back on one more time. As soon as I bring my hand, it turns up and it'll lock in, and you can actually interact with it directly, either using pay attention, catch me up, or tap to talk. And the function works really nice. And this is mirrored also on the Razr Ultra as well as the Razr Plus. So you can use it runs the Snapdragon 8 Elite. This is going to be the best processor for 2025 from Qualcomm. And what we're looking here for the standard Razr is the Dimensity 7400X. It's a custom chip made specifically by MediaTek to allow us to have a great mid-range experience. And it is actually showing essentially on how the interface and everything works. Now, from the general usage of the phone, there's no difference in the general usage because the overall refresh rate and performance is clocked in based on what you're getting here. Motorola's skin is very light and it typically doesn't slow down Android. It provides more functional options than anything else. Since both of them are flip phones, I just wanted to kind of show you guys that the crease is extremely minimal on both of these devices. Although both of them are featuring the new hinge mechanism, you'll notice that the hinge here is a little bit different at the top because we have a slightly smaller display, but both of them are providing us a larger display. And the main beautiful thing about it is the fact that both of them will close into a very small size. Weight-wise, obviously the Ultra is a little bit heavier. It's 4,700 milliampere, slightly heavier battery. Also, as you can imagine, the performance is going to be mirrored exactly as you can expect. Both of them are featuring an external display launcher, so you can actually swipe between. You can customize, add applications. I have Instagram, Netflix, Call of Duty Mobile, YouTube Music, and stuff. You can go in there, connect your calendar, weather applications, add your contacts, different communication tools, and there's the pre-built online-based games that are optimized to run on the external display. So very nice. And of course, you can go back to the main home screen. You can customize the launcher. You can go to recent applications in here. You can click, see the notification. You can also swipe down from the top, accessing the toggles, and again, customizing the entire experience. And last but not least, if you double press the power button, you have access to the camera. You can customize it, go for video, slow motion, portrait mode, mirror, and everything. And the really nice thing that I like about it is that we now support 4K 60 frames per second on the front-facing camera. Now, this is capped at 4K 30 frames per second here. Now, this one is capped at 4K 30 frames per second under video here. So let's go ahead and jump in real quick. And that's primarily focused on the experience that you're looking here. So 4K 30 and 4K 60 on the brand new Razrs. So really nice improvements. And again, great for capturing content when you're walking, when you're doing different things. But as far as the internal cameras and everything that we can, everything is pretty much mirrored in that experience, that you can go all the way to the highest levels. So you can go to 8K, 4K, Full HD, 60 frames per second, and of course 8K 30 frames per second. And of course 8K 30 frames per second on the main sensors on the back. And you can jump in as well between the main and the two times crop. The ultrawide is not supported under 8K, but for 4K 60 frames per second, you can see here that all of the lenses are supported. The macro lens is leveraging the ultra-wide sensor, just for reference. As far as the front-facing camera, pretty straightforward. Same thing, 4K 60 frames per second, and that's going to be the maximum resolution. As far as the external, the front-facing camera on the inside. When we flip it over, again, 4K 60. Here on the Razer Standard, it's pretty much the same experience. As you can see, again, 4K 30 frames per second. And that's going to be mirrored on the internal main sensor as well as the external sensors when used in open mode. So that's going to be primarily the main benefits of what we're getting here. So let's go outside real quick and capture some content from the brand new Razer and the Razer Ultra. Now, I know normally when I'm doing this audio and video test, we're at my backyard, but this time I figured this would be a good example of just checking out how the inside front-facing camera is on the Ultra. This is going to be at 4K 60 frames per second. I'm walking around in New York. I want to share with you guys some experiences from not only taking pictures, but also video, and how good does it look. We also have camcorder mode, which works really nice when you want to be able to close it up and use it like a camcorder, but that utilizes the main sensors on the back, which we're going to switch to in a second. Now we're leveraging the main sensor on this device, and one of the things I really appreciate about this is we can actually use it in clamshell mode, which means I can actually see myself while I'm recording with the main sensor because of that 4-inch display. Now, the standard Razer has an external display. This is exactly replicated there. The screen, well, not the screen, but the video resolution may not be the exact same, and the quality may not be the same. This is why the Ultra is the Ultra. But the experience that we're talking about is the difference in quality. Like, you could see the exposure, the dynamic range, the audio experience. A little bit of a tip, make sure when you're crossing the street, you're looking at the street. But also make sure that you're not putting your thumb on the USB-C port, because there are the microphones that are positioned now close to each other on the right side. Anyways, good audio and video example from the main sensor on the brand new Razer Ultra 2025 in all its beauty. And I think I'm happy to the most here because of the fact that we not only have 4K, but 4K 60, which is something that we've always struggled with on the external display. Now what I'm using is something called the camcorder, or the handheld mode, where you're flipping the phone, but you're actually putting it at a 90-degree angle. So the camera itself is facing, well, the main sensor is facing outwards, and I'm actually holding it sideways so that I'm not actually extending the device too long. Better grip and configuration on it, but it provides us a unique experience. And the nice thing is you can also flip the camera to record yourself. And pretty much the same experience as if we're recording with the front-facing camera on the inside display. The only difference is obviously the ability of holding it a little bit better, and the button, or the actual play, or sorry, the start and stop, is positioned on the right. When we're using the main sensor on the back, we actually have better control because it actually functions like a camcorder, for the lack of a better term. It's a unique experience that Moto devices have. And of course, you can always use it by setting it up on a table and using it like its own tripod.
Now, one of the main things that you probably noticed right there is the quality of the video and the images that we're getting out of the actual Razer Ultra. Now, the Razer also features a 50 megapixel camera sensor, and well, again, slightly different experience, as it's intended to be more of a budget-friendly version of what the Ultra is trying to be. The Ultra, for us in the US, this is a brand new category, and in a way, basically pulling out all the stops. Now, there's a few caveats, and I will cover those in a second. But as far as coverage overall from what you're getting here, you saw there with the videos and the images. They look great. They provide us a great experience. Stereo speakers on both of these devices. That's going to be one of Motorola's motto going forward, no pun intended there, is that they're going to give us stereo speakers on everything. That's going to be very nicely, and of course appreciate it when we want to game. And that's one of the main benefits of having a Snapdragon 8 Elite or even a 7400X. The experience that you're getting here, or by the way, it's the 8S Gen 3 that's positioned on the middle side here. All three of these devices are going to give you a great experience. Now, ultimately, the Ultra and I think the Plus will give you the better gaming experience, as they typically have much better processing power. But the 7400X is no slouch at all. I think from a battery capacity, the 4500 milliampere, with that processor, you're going to get a much longer battery life. You still have a large display, high refresh rate, fast charging, all the capabilities, and again, that primary 50 megapixel camera sensor. I think the limitation there is primarily that 4K 30 frames per second, and that's going to be kind of across both the front-facing cameras or the internal camera. But at least it's a mirrored experience. When we get here with obviously the 8 Elite, the 16 gigs of RAM on the model that I have, even the 1 terabyte, is that basically you're going to the next level. Gaming performance, of course, cooling, everything works really good. And I really enjoyed gaming Call of Duty Mobile on this, as it's something that I typically enjoy playing on most smartphones. And you can also play it on the external display if you really want to geek out and try to have just kind of like a smaller experience. You can pretty much configure any app to transition from the internal to the external display. That's very nice. I have my YouTube Music, YouTube configured in there, as well as obviously Google Maps. By default, there are certain things that are already set up. And you can pretty much almost do everything in there. Respond to messages, do everything without even having to open the smartphone, which makes this very functional and saves you battery in the long run. Although the Ultra does have a 4700 milliampere, which actually kind of pushes it to the next level from a capabilities standpoint. But gaming, no question, as you saw there with the sample, it looks really good. It functions very nicely and the sounds are amazing. Of course, paired with a pair of buds, you're not going to be disappointed in there as well. When it comes down to photography and traveling with this, eSIM support for me is a big must, and I appreciate the fact that we have eSIM support as well as physical SIMs. And that made it very easy for me to activate and start using the Ultra as well as the standard Razr on the go. I didn't even have to worry about picking up a SIM card or anything like that. I just installed the eSIM. I use, of course, my Iralo service in there, and I'll give you guys a link in the description below there if you'd like to try it. But the biggest thing overall, it is just you start going and it works right away. The display is gorgeous, beautiful, large display, very responsive, no questions there. The external display also very nice and large enough that you're able to expand, you're able to customize the experience on apps. Most of the time when they open up somewhat kind of like I would say like a 16:9 experience. But if you press and hold on the actual slider on the bottom where you're able to swipe up to get the Recents app, it expands the app to fill up the entire display and you get a better experience. Same thing with the games. There are some games in here that are basically web games that allow you to actually use the external display. Unfortunately, you do need internet for that. But of course, you can just download and install all your favorite games offline, all the good stuff. Download music, videos, everything in there works beautifully. Netflix does work in case you want to geek out on Netflix on the external display. But again, your best experience is, of course, going to be on the internal display. I did basically get a couple of cases in here. Now, this one's a poetic case, rugged case, with a nice kickstand. Provides us not only protection for the standard Razr, but also gives us the ability of using it more of like not just a tent style, but also as a kickstand style to watch content. And of course, I also picked up another one here for the Razer Ultra that does support MagSafe. Fortunately or unfortunately, it's starting to become a very big thing for me, MagSafe and accessories that use MagSafe technology. So it's definitely appreciated that we see it, and it gives me the ability of seeing the color. Although I can't touch the Alcantara leather on this, I can definitely appreciate the Pantone color. Again, on both of them, they look absolutely fantastic. So to summarize the experience, maybe actually I'll leave this. There's one thing that for me I was hoping that I didn't see here is, although we do have Ready For and it is supported wirelessly, we don't have video output on the Razer Ultra. Now, I was expecting not to have it on the standard Razer, but the Razer Ultra does not support it, which means if you're looking to use any kind of XR glasses, unfortunately that's not going to be here. If you're trying to use Ready For wired, also not here. They're really leveraging the wireless connection. So we have fast charging, fast data transfer, but unfortunately, video out is not supported, and I'm not sure if this is a software limitation or not. I will reach out to Moto to try to find out if this is something that they can activate, or maybe it's a future planned activation of some sort. But other than that, I think it's pretty surprising what we're getting here. Yes, we're getting 3 different devices to pick, but I'll probably say that the standard, or the Plus, is very similar to what we've seen last year. Here, we're getting a very different experience. They've shifted to an ultra-wide from a telephoto, which I think is the right move, because the 50 megapixel camera is capable to give us basically a seamless crop, a 2x crop right away. And if you shoot it in a full 50, you're able to even basically crop in on the image and get a better experience. I love the fact that we have 8K, 4K 60s primarily where I live, and that really answers the question there. And of course, the 1 terabyte of storage is very helpful when you start shooting things in very high quality. So no questions, very nice recommendation there from me. If you're looking to pick up a Razer in 2025, I think the Razer and the Razer Ultra are very nice selections. If you want to go in the middle there, I think the Plus provides you a really nice balance between the two. Although because it does keep the actual telephoto lens, it's a slightly different experience. If you favor the telephoto, I feel like the Razer Plus is pretty much the only way to go. If you favor having an ultra-wide lens, I think the Ultra and the Standard give you guys the best, basically the highest feature set. Obviously, comes at a higher premium price, but of course, it also gives you the performance, the battery, the triple 50s. Again, they literally pulled out all the stops. With the exception of the video out, there's very little, I mean, I also find no fault in this device. The color science is better. It's tunable. You can customize it. You can go in there, the AI functionality, a dedicated button for it, a larger display on the inside of basically one of the largest displays on the outside when it comes to flip phones. And of course, marry that with the fact that you can get a budget version of that running the 7400X, a slightly smaller display at 3.6, but again, still a large one. And of course, giving us the ability of having stereo speakers, a 50 megapixel primary camera, the tent mode functionality, the AI built-in options are all in there as well. Minus the button, which is only present on the Ultra, I think it's a really good comparable experience. An entry-level Razer or an Ultra, and at the end of the day, it's going to be up to you. You can make a decision that see which one fits your style best. Let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think of both of these devices? Are you a Razer or a Razer Ultra, or even a Razer Plus fan? And which one did you decide to pick up if you already picked one up for yourself? I like the Pantone colors, I like the customizations, and I can't wait to see what Motorola is able to add more with future software updates. Thank you very much for the support. I'll see you in the next video.